Namaste. Hola. Diaguit. That's what we say in Ireland. Diaguit.
What we say?
Diaguit. It means like God be with you. Same as
Do you
Namaste.
quit?
Diaguit.
I like it. Dia being deity, I think. Yeah? The dia part. The dia part is deity.
Yeah. Dia is God.
Yeah, and gwit is go with you.
Yeah. Kind of means yeah, be with you.
Yeah.
Be God please.
Ah,
Literally. I just read your message. There. Joy. Joy that I'll be with you in a few minutes, but just there's joy anyway, so thanks for the joy. Look, didn't even have to come up.
yeah. So true. Without an answer, I was kind of thinking maybe you'd be caught up in family stuff, but with Easter holiday being tomorrow, so
No, it's a good opportunity to have an excuse.
okay, great, 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 good. So we're on the turd.
Yeah, the 33rd. The English would be delighted to hear me saying that. 33 and a third. 33rd.
I have a little more light I need to bring to the matter here. I'm going like so, right on my book here.
Chapter 26. Undifferentiated abidance in the non-dual nature. I'm just reminded what's it's called.
Maybe
Read a few verses.
do you want to start with the introduction and then jump to the turd, just so
What's
we're
the
sort of set?
Not really. What's the
Okay.
introduction? No.
Well, then we're on either 32 or 33.
Yeah, let's start on 32 just in case. We're on 33. We'll wait 32 again. This needs no introduction. It stands alone in itself. That in which the body and others cannot be discerned, in which there is no perception of manifestation whatsoever, in which thought itself is destroyed, in which merges the individuality, in which all imaginings get dissolved, and in which even certitude disappears, by the deep conviction that I am that, be in the bliss of ever being that itself. That in which all meditation is merged, in which all yoga is obliterated, in which all ignorance is dead, in which all knowledge is nullified, in which there are no interactions involved, and which is the state of absolute truth, by the very firm conviction that I am that, be in the bliss of ever being that itself. Merging in which one attains happiness always, merging in which one never experiences sorrow, merging in which one perceives nothing, merging in which one never takes birth at all, merging in which one never experiences a sense of being separate, merging in which one abides as the Supreme itself, by this deep conviction of I am that, be in the bliss of ever being that itself. And the only way you can really have that conviction is if you see it to be true, isn't it? Like to just believe it, like to just have the conviction as a thought is not really going to, well, it's probably going to be helpful a little bit if you just believe it. because maybe if you just believe it, it will help you to shun or kind of let go of other things. But to be really convinced that you're that, you just have to see that you are that. That's the only way that you're really going to have the conviction of it. And that's easy because we are that, so we can see that way. It's not like a difficult thing or something. It's very easy. That which is verily of the nature of the Supreme Brahman, which verily is of the nature of the Supreme Shiva, what verily is of the nature of the Immaculate, what verily is of the nature of the Supreme State, which verily is of the nature of the knowledge of reality, and which verily is of the nature of the Supreme Truth, that indeed am I. By such conviction, be in the bliss of ever being that itself. That which is verily of the nature of the pure Absolute, which verily is of the nature of a mass of bliss, which verily is of the nature of the subtle Supreme, which verily is of the nature of the self-luminous, which verily is of the nature of the non-dual, and which verily is of the nature of the meaning of the undifferentiated. That indeed am I. By such conviction, be in the bliss of ever being that itself. That which is verily of the nature of truth, which is verily of the nature of the peaceful Absolute, which verily is of the nature of the eternal, which verily is of the nature of the attributeless, I should say, which verily is of the nature of the self, which verily is of the nature of the undivided Absolute. That indeed am I. By such conviction, be in the bliss of ever being that itself. That indeed which constitutes the entirety of interaction, that even the last of which cannot indeed be conveyed by the highest truth. I like that, the highest truth. Which indeed is the existence consciousness bliss, which indeed is ever peaceful, from which indeed there is nothing apart, and which indeed abides self-existent all by itself. That indeed am I. By such conviction, be in the bliss of ever being that itself. Thus have I explained to you, Nidaga, the state of being established as that itself, without any duality. You shall enjoy perpetual bliss by attaining this state by the constant, continuous, changeless certitude of the undifferentiated Absolute. There are no more miseries of mundane existence at all at any time in the future, for you who are Brahman alone. It's very joyous, isn't it? It's so joyous. It feels like that. It says, thus I have explained to you, Nidaga, and an exclamation mark. And it feels like that. It feels like a kind of a proclamation of joy or something. I feel like I somehow like feel like it should be coming out loudspeakers, like just people walking down the street. Imagine that. It would be a good like sketch at least. Like just like the normal street wherever you are. And there's big loudspeakers on every end of the street somewhere so you can hear wherever you are. And like this is being read out the loudspeakers. That's a really wonderful idea. And then it's just like, and then like people are just like the words are like settling in, like and just feeling the joy of that, you know. Wonderful.
As you're reading a verse or two ago, my own spine wanted to straighten up.
Yeah,
I wanted to
same
sit up
here.
taller.
I don't know which verse I was reading, but I kind of like I felt something here. Like it was like
Yeah,
something, and it also went up, like straighter like that. You might not have been looking
yeah.
at me, but it's saying nothing.
No,
Maybe
no,
like if
eyes
someone is
closed.
watching the video, we'll have to look back. Maybe we both just go like that at the same time. Mm. Can I keep reading? Look. Yeah, good. Casting aside all impure tendencies by the pristine tendency left by the practice of the this is the practice. The absolute existence consciousness bliss is all, and that I ever am. And subsequently effacing even that tendency, son, you will be established in the perfect, full absorption in and as the non-dual supreme Brahman itself, and attain the liberation of being the undifferentiated, undivided one.
Those are very precise instructions, are they not?
Yeah, I feel like they're like the words themselves are joy. It's like
Mm.
reading and it's like joy is bursting out. They are very precise instructions. Now, who's going to do it? That happens. All impure tendencies are of a state of the mind. The tendencies about the pure absolute are also of a state of the mind. The Supreme has no such changing tendencies. Hence, be established in this state, without any tendencies of the mind, whether considered pure or considered impure, like a motionless piece of stone or wood, and without any strain, be in bliss.
This is incredibly profound.
Yeah.
And I'd like to offer a slight variation on this verse without saying the whole verse, just one line from another YouTube recording. Another woman years ago with a Brooklyn accent recorded a different translation of this chapter, and the the third line comes out. There are no wandering thoughts in the Supreme Being.
Mm,
It's just that one would like struck like a bell.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Wanted to share that.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah. Mm. Having disassociated from the imaginings of all other thoughts by the conviction of being the undivided absolute, and forgetting even the said conviction of being the absolute, you yourself abide as the perfectly full supreme Brahman. Even if a great sinner in this world hears this explanation now proclaimed, and understands it, he shall, rid of all the great sins of his ego, abide as the nature of the undivided, undifferentiated absolute. I love that. Even if a great sinner in this world hears this explanation now proclaimed. That's good. It's just another way of saying it's for everyone. Because sometimes people, I think, can feel, but like I'm too bad. I've done too many bad things, and like this is like too good. It's too good for me or something.
Someday I'll be holy, but maybe not right away.
The endless Vedas, in revealing here and there the means of meditation for mental purification, have indicated only rock-like, motionless merger with and absorption in the unafflicted mass of bliss, the undivided, complete, perfectly full Shiva, as the means for the happy liberation of those who are mentally purified. That's an interesting verse, isn't it?
Say more. Say more.
Therefore, one can here attain the undifferentiated liberation by abiding as just that itself, and with a purified mind arising out of the practice of the meditation that whatever is known is Shiva, and that Shiva am I. Whatever is stated here is the truth. Thus, the sage Ribu explained in full to Nadaga the abidance in the true state. It is the undivided form of our Supreme Lord in a state of sublime, joyous dance that says, by the conviction that I am ever the reality, which is existence consciousness bliss, and by the state of abiding at one with that, being that itself, the empty bondage of the world can be cut asunder and pure liberation attained. Love that empty bondage. That's very powerful word. It's like empty bondage. It's basically like, well, at least when I hear that, it's saying like it's empty bondage, not even a real bondage to begin to begin with. It's empty. So what's empty? Like there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it in it. It's not like a real bondage ever to begin with. But like it feels so, or if we what we believe we experience as real, that's how powerful our mind is. So our mind is powerful, but it's not more powerful than the source of it. And then,
Well,
they say the mind isn't even there at all, which in one sense, and from the deepest place, it's not there.
well, we talked about how suffering takes effort, and the most joyous experience is when that effort just stops. Oh, what was that all about? That's over.
Like as far as I know, you're like just Ribu. Ribu is just there, like appearing. You just appear like that, and you're just like because you're like little joyous bundle there, just like getting me to read these words or hear the words, be involved with these words.
26 chapters later, I'm a little bit more like the mirror, maybe, for you.
So, like, what trouble could we have after that? You can't have any trouble like reading these words, isn't it? I can't think of any trouble. Can you have any trouble? Can you think of any trouble? You can probably think of it. It's even a funny thing to say, isn't it? Like, can you think of any trouble? The mind will think of something. My mind can't even think of any trouble. I'm sure it could, like, if it was left. Yeah, see, that's the thing. If it's left to wander, then it gets trouble. Because, like, when you said that line from one of the verses, I don't know what you said, but it was something like, in this true state, there is no wandering mind. What was it?
There are no wandering thoughts in the Supreme Being.
There are no wandering thoughts in the Supreme Being. It reminded me of the words that I told you before from A Course in Miracles that were somehow came alive here. And I was like, we're far too tolerant of the wandering mind. So like that. So it's like that's what the mind wants to do. Like when it's just left alone, like when it's left without being kind of conscious of what it's doing. So then we let it wander. And if we're tolerant of a wandering mind, that leads to problems, leads to suffering, leads to all this. So like, yeah, I remember like something came in here like that line arose, like we're far too tolerant. And then there was also another thing that arose, like that's enough. I will not. It was like something was like that's like I will not be tolerant of a wandering mind any longer. And like since then, I haven't been tolerant of a wandering mind. Like, and like sometimes when something like that happens, it's like it's not you. Like that was just something that happened. That's something that happened in me. Just that I saw it was just like, okay, so that happened. Because sometimes your mind can say things, which it does it like it wants to give up things, and toss could be one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to give up coffee now. I'm not going to drink coffee anymore. But then the next day you're just having a cup of coffee. So it doesn't really matter what your mind says. Like, and I've seen that happen in myself. But this thing that arose in me, it was like it had power. So like I knew it wasn't like the mind, like it had authority. It was like something like, okay, that's it. I'm not gonna tolerate the wandering mind anymore.
Amba's smile and really, really joyous vibe is a reminder that that's not only possible, but here it is. Eh?
Mhm. Like sometimes I don't feel joyous. I don't I don't feel like not joyous either. But I guess you can't be going around being like joyous all the time. I don't think that's like practical. Like I think, when you're interacting with someone, it's more likely that the joy will kind of come out, or if there's some activity or something that brings the joy out or something. But I don't know if it's really like practical that you'd be just going around like all the time, you know. Because I actually like I think it's like part of my personality, but like when I was much younger, like maybe 10 years ago, a bit more than 10 years ago, my personality was kind of wanting to be joyful all the time. It was probably a part of like that seeking kind of energy, you know. So it was like seeking to be joyful, but there wasn't any kind of an understanding that it's not really practical. I think, like, I feel like, and even then, actually, something came like, what is joy or what is happiness? And I feel like whatever came then, I think is still holds true. Like, I feel like it's just being content, having like just being content with the moment. Like it's just everything that is right now is perfectly okay. There's nothing fighting against it. So it's not even so even if there's some other feeling here, like even if it's I don't know, any kind of those like negative what you put in a negative category, maybe sadness, grief, anger, what else one might put in the anger in the negative category. But like that there's even a contentment when they're there, like an okayness. Like I think that's actually more I don't know if desirable is the right word, but I feel like I would, if I was striving for something, I would strive for that more than being joyful all the time.
I think what you're referring to is that states come and go, and joy
Yeah,
is one of those states. Yeah,
yeah,
and you're trying to point to what is the space in which those states are sort of passing.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like that is our true nature. Our true nature is just like it is okay with everything. It's okay with everything that comes and goes, and it's not even saying it's okay because it's like space. It's like I think I've heard Muji saying this before, but it's a really good example. It's just like the space in the room. Like what's it saying? It's not saying anything. You can move furniture into a room, like and then move it all around, move that furniture out, move in different furniture. The space itself in the room doesn't say anything. Space is just space. So kind of like similar to that. It's like whatever appears, it's just like, yeah, it's fine, it's okay. But it doesn't affect it. Like this one of the lines in this, I don't know if I'll find it now, but it basically said like that true nature is unaffected by anything. Can't remember now. Do you remember where else? I want to find it because it said it in a really good way. I like the way it said it.
This wasn't the verse I was referring to, or was it? So where I jumped in with a comment was 41. So maybe it was earlier than that.
No, it was here. Like I actually, I was looking for it and I actually opened it and my finger was pointing at it like
Oh,
way.
perfect.
The unafflicted mass of bliss.
Mm.
Isn't that a good way of saying it? the unafflicted massive bliss. So like that, what we truly are is unafflicted. Like it's on, nothing happens to it, no matter what happens in this world. Like nothing can touch it. It's like there's different words, isn't it? Like people say it's untouchable, ungraspable, on everything. You can't reach it. Like it's just like it literally will stay untouched. Like you can't do anything to it. But I like that. The unafflicted massive bliss.
What's the verse number?
It's 43. There's 43. That was cool. I just opened it like that, look, and my thumb was just pointing like right there. Like it's like, oh yeah, that's good. It's like saying you can trust life to do everything. I don't even have to make any effort there to find it. It's like I feel like that's one of our big problems, that we don't kind of have the trust in just life to look after itself. So we feel we then inject ourselves in as a false thing, really, like so it's like an entity that we've made up, and then this entity then has to control everything that's unfolding, and that entity itself is not even a real thing. So imagine you're identifying with something that's not even a real thing, and you're trying to exert control that you don't even have. Like that, it's like I even saying it feels like stressful. So, but like that's what's happening in this whole world. But then also what's happening is that we're like waking up from it, and it's like, oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But it doesn't make any sense. I don't have to do that anymore. Oh God, God. So it's almost like that. Like it's like there's been this big hill. It's like a big hill of effort, and then at the top of the hill, then this is the most effort at the top of the hill, and then you're coming down again. So the coming down is waking up, but like the hill itself, like the both the up and the down. So the down is the I don't have to do it like both. Everything is just like imagined. The whole hill. I don't know why I'm calling it a hill. Because it's like that. It's like you start off, you're born, and then like you get into it. You start believing you're this character, and you have to make all these efforts. Blah, blah, blah. Then it's like, oh, I found the song of River. I found the River Gita. Phew, back down. Right back where I started again. There's so many words in this world, thousands of words, like just to bring you to a state of being, to bring you to a place where you're not doing anything, you're not making any effort, you're just being, and it's so like the simplest thing. It's like we do it all the time anyway, but we just overlook it and start again. We start doing things or believing we're doing things. And it's like all these like thousands of words, thousands of scriptures and just for that. Mommy, man, man.
So so there's where the idea, if you will, it takes practice, is
Mm,
both true and not true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So to put your shoes on for a moment,
yeah,
I think you would say, well, it doesn't really require any practice because that suggests some effort.
mm. But yeah, it kind of does as well, just purely just because. we're so, it's like a habit, you know, if you've ever been, well, anyone who kind of maybe smokes or something like that, that's like an actual physical thing that you do. You know, so you're taking something into your body and you're actually doing something like this, or I don't know, any kind of a habit like that, you know, because the mind is like that. It's like we pick up the mind automatically without even know, we don't even know we're doing it. So I think like people who are addicted to smoking, like my father is always trying to give up smoking, but he's so addicted. He said sometimes this was a few months ago now, but he told me that he just finds himself smoking again. He's like, I just noticed in the middle of the smoke, or in the middle of the second smoke or third smoke, sometimes he said, "Oh God, I'm smoking again. I'm not supposed to be smoking," like because he's trying to give up. So it's like it's such a habit. So it's like that's exactly what we do with the mind. Like it's like we don't notice the first thought because if we did and if we knew what damage it does, you know, or what it can cause, then you wouldn't do it. But it's like you only notice after we've been like um buying into the thoughts for like a week or something, or a lifetime even sometimes, however long it is. But then the thing is, even when we notice, and even when we know all these words and understand these words of the Song of River, we still keep picking up the mind again, again and again, because it's just a habit. But like it's okay, it doesn't matter. It's like I feel like as long as we nourish what's true in us, you know, so we're nourishing by um I suppose just tuning into the deepest depth of ourselves that we know, and we want to because it feels good, isn't it? We want it. So like I feel like that's enough, and that looks after itself, and like just by being that, then that looks after if we pick up thoughts or if we don't, you know, like maybe even sometimes picking up thoughts and going on a little journey of thoughts, maybe it has its place, you know. I feel like it does sometimes have its place. Like really its place is just so we won't pick it up as easy. That's really the only place we can have. But sometimes we have to really pick them up so that we know not to pick them up. You know, like kind of like almost like what's going on is like a, you know, a hot coal. We don't even have to do that. But like imagine if you picked up a hot coal and you held it for a while and you burnt your hand really bad, you're not going to be picking it up again, isn't it? But if you just go near and someone says, no, 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 don't do it, then you might go like that. But you might still keep going back and you might still keep playing with it. But if you've burnt yourself really bad, you're not going to go back. Like, so in that way, I feel like somehow getting involved in the mind, you know, has its place. And maybe that's the whole point of this world. You know, it's a kind of a school, a playground, a playground where that can deepen in us so much because we don't know. This is only kind of speculating, or I don't know what it is, but like you know, maybe there's other worlds where and there's other kind of energies, you know, thoughts and all, but it's not so easy to drop them. So if you can do it here in this world, you can do it in any world, you know, like that. Like nothing can suck you in.
A couple of times during this session, I've thought about Ramana's teachings and how he offered up the "Who am I?"
Mm,
question.
yeah,
And in the couple of pages where the recording of the question answer around "Who am I?" lives, the follow-up question was, well, when do I stop asking "Who am I?"
yeah,
And the answer from Ramana was basically when the thoughts stop coming. It's basically,
yeah,
so when do I stop? Well, never.
yeah,
And the never suggests that the question becomes a lever to sort of bring you to a different place,
mm,
which is a terrible way of describing it, but
yeah.
that's the sense of it. That, well, you're trying to raise the sensitivity to where it just jumps to a whole other level, like some kind of quantum leap.
Because I actually asked that question to Muji as a, like I remember, I think I told you before, but I'm remembering again. I don't know why. Maybe I need to remember myself or something. But like I asked him something like I was kind of saying I don't really feel like doing inquiry. I said like I really, you know, like do I have to keep doing inquiry? Was the question. It was the essence of it. Something. Do I have to keep doing inquiry because I really don't feel like doing inquiry? Like I really just feel like being still. and just like resting in this like stillness and just being really quiet. And I think I that like the essence at least of his answer was like the same. It's like if there's someone to ask the question, like basically if the question appears, then you keep doing it. But like I was kind of surprised at that time because it really felt like didn't feel like I really needed to do any inquiry. Like felt, no, just didn't feel like I needed to do any inquiry. But like his answer was really kind of like, yeah, you do. You still keep you need to do. You need to do because I think even the fact that I'm asking him a question, like why would I ask him? Like because when you're just the self, there's no questions. Like, do I need to keep doing inquiry? Like, who's asking that question? So it's just like that. So as long as there's any questions, like who that, yeah, exactly. Who's asking that? So you keep doing the inquiry until there's no one to do inquiry left. And then it could be sometimes that some moments like there's no one, but then it seems like there is other moments. Like that's how it is here. I don't feel like I do feel really clear in my heart, and I don't feel like there's anything. I don't feel like there's any beacon or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know why the urge to reach anywhere yet. There's no like kind of sense that I need to reach anywhere because it's understood that like I'm that already. But yeah, still I know that there is sometimes like a sense of a me. You know, I don't think I really believe it. Maybe like it could be that it's hard to know in a moment, but I feel like there probably is. In some moments there is like belief in things. Like I can get caught up in a story sometimes, like momentarily. But I also don't think it matters. Yeah. But I that's why I kind of feel like, you know, I kind of feel like we could kind of be doing inquiry for all time, forever. Or you're not even doing it so much like that you have to say who am I, but it's more like that we've been saying like that kind of vision, like you're kind of having the vision because the potential to um I don't know, the potential to believe that you're part of an illusion or something. It could is still like it's going to be there as long as you're seeing a world, isn't it? Because the world is an illusion in a way. I know, like you could see the world as not an illusion as well. I know I could like someone could reflect these videos back to me in like 10 years and I'll be like, I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Because it changes like how you think about things and how you look at things changes all of it. So like I'm open to it. Really doesn't matter. Like I think sometimes like people as well, us people can take like spirituality a bit seriously. But like I guess it can feel serious if you really feel like you're suffering and you really want to get out of it and you feel like there's a way out, but you feel like you haven't reached it or something. That's maybe the biggest suffering. Like I think that's maybe a bigger suffering than but I mean you're already halfway out. You've already got one foot out if you're hearing through teaching. So anyway, the moral of what I'm trying to say is I really don't think we should be taking anything too seriously, especially spiritual, especially.
So many times I've been watching a video. I've been watching Amba just to hit pause.
I really don't have time to like watch videos. Like I'd love to watch even our videos back sometime. Maybe I will sometime have time. I really don't have time. I have a meeting sometimes with like there's two friends that I used to live with them years ago, about 10 years ago. But I've been meeting them for about maybe 2.5 years now, and it's kind of like satsang type talk. But about a year ago we started recording, and in the beginning I thought, "Oh, maybe I'll watch them back, like and just see." I thought I would maybe watch them back and see if there was any impact, like if there was any like self-judgment or if anything arose in me like when I was watching the videos. But I literally didn't. I watched one or two for like about a minute or half a minute or something, I'm not really game, but I just really don't have the time to even watch. Maybe someday. Like, they're just like recorded and like private, like they're unlisted. So like nobody watches them. Who knows why that happens?
Well, if someone were to discover them in the future and they were wondering about their own mind being engaged or disengaged or what have you, maybe they just turn the sound down. Maybe just turn the sound off entirely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very much how it feels like when you're reading. It's um, even whether or not this is laying a layer of imagination on top of it. You know, it's really Rebu speaking. You know,
Yeah.
this is Rebu's voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's the whole point because that's what he's saying. Everything is that. Even our chitter chatter, if there's such a thing as chitter chatter and things.
Yeah.
So even all the things we're saying, even when it's not seemingly about that, is that. That's the
Hmm.
whole point. Everything is that.
Hmm.
And the more you absorb yourself, I feel, in these kind of teachings, the more that becomes clear. Is it? And I only know for myself, but even when it feels clear, like I could say, even let's say 5 years ago, I feel like I would have said the same thing like that. It feels really clear. Everything feels clear. But like I still feel like somehow that clarity somehow can still grow.
Hmm.
Even though it sounds like some kind of contradiction, but somehow it's not. So that's why I say like in 5 years' time, I'll maybe again there'll be much deeper level of clarity. Again, it seems like that, but you feel like 100% clear all the time. How could it get more clear than clear? Can't. So that's what I feel like. I feel like that's kind of like somehow never ending. And I don't even like the idea of saying like it's ended. You know, it doesn't feel alive. Sure doesn't. Like I feel like that. Like to say that like okay, I'm just clear now. I'm clear. Everything is that, and like I have a complete like understanding of it, and like that can't change. Like nothing in my way of seeing and experiencing this like all that is can change. Like that feels so rigid. It feels rigid, and it doesn't feel open, and doesn't feel good. So therefore, I feel like that can't be true. Like at least for me, at least here, it can't be true. Maybe for someone else it can because you just don't know.
No, that definitely resonates on this side,
Mm,
and that although seeing you brings such joy, that just knowing that it's okay to not say anything and sit quietly is especially great. And there's no words to it then. Yeah.
mm. So I still didn't upload our video from last week. I don't think I'm gonna upload it
Oh,
now. I think I did it.
okay.
Yeah, to.
Oh,
I'm going to do it
okay. Well, this one was especially blissful,
now.
and I will watch this one and treasure it forever
Mm. Until you have to let that go.
until I have to let that go, and then maybe there'll be another one.
Oh, you have to let everything go in the end. Everything. Like I love when Anta says, what he used to say, not even a blade of grass will remain. Thought that was a beautiful expression. He says that anymore. It's like it feels so, feels good. Thank you. Thank you, dear Ribu. Maybe I should just call you Ribu. I think like Ribu would be a really good name for you. Like, can I call you Ribu?
Oh, I'm feeling a little bit more like Nadaga, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah. Don't be Nadaga, you can choose.
Well, I see them as a pair, you know, they just go right together all the time, and it's
Yeah, okay.
later when we get to it, Nadaga is going to say, you know, I am you, you know,
Yeah.
and Nadaga melts into Ribu the same way I want to melt into you.
Mhm. But I still gonna call you Rubu anyway.
Okay.
Because you know what? Like I heard Muji saying once when he gives people names, someone asks him for a name and then he kind of sits with it and he tunes into like the energy of the person. So like the person has the potential. So they have the potential for that. Like so it's in them, but if they grow into it, so they can kind of grow into it and on like yeah, let that nature kind of come out in them more by carrying that name and by someone calling them by that name. So like maybe they don't like feel like they have it first. So I don't I think I might call you Ruby.
Well, then it's on me to go and talk directly to Shiva.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You do that. That's exactly. That's exactly. If I was encouraging anything, I would encourage that you have a direct line to Shiva now. I'm actually going to call you Ruby now. I actually have this thing where I just really like giving people names. Like I like and like Steve isn't a good name for you. My way. It's probably fine. But like
Well, I mean, it worked for 58 years, but you know,
yeah.
things change. Eh?
And I don't really the Prem Satyananda is not really doing it. It's okay. Like I prefer to call you Ruby for now. We can change it again. So Rubu, that's it. I was gonna say good evening, but it's morning there, so good morning.
And good evening to you. And I hear a screamer in the background who
Yeah.
wants to play with you.
Good morning, good evening, and good night. That's what like Jim Carrey used to say in the Truman Show, something like that. Wasn't
Something like that.
it? Good morning, good evening, and good night.
You have some family time scheduled for tomorrow?